2026 is a very good year, prophetically and in the plans of God for humanity in this season. The plans of God for every individual is entirely different. The destiny that God has apportioned for you, you cannot pursue it whilst you neglect God's inclusion. It's not possible. A lot of people are not living their purpose on earth.
Where did we get it wrong?
When we took the God factor out of it, God's prescription, there's a price to pay, and many people are not ready to pay price. When God places his purpose over your life, the beginning doesn't look nice at all.
First thing we should know and need to do,
our lives must be in line with his eternal purpose, not the now plans of man. So a lot of people are pursuing profession and stuff like that, but they are not fulfilled because they are not in alignment with God's plan for their lives. So a lot of people, the life they are living, God is not involved. If you have the mindset that you can live without him and be better, it's a deception.
What do you think are the enemies that derail us from fulfilling our purpose on earth?
The number one enemy that is not making people able to fulfill the purpose of God is
Thank you very much, Pastor Daniel, for joining us today at the Renewed by Truth podcast studios. How are you, sir?
By God's grace, I'm doing very well, and thanks for having me once again.
Yeah. It's always a great deal of joy whenever you join me here. You've been one of the consistent guests I've had here. In fact, you are the first person who give us our exclusive session, first ever maiden session, and you've just been consistent at it, and thank you so much. God bless you, sir.
Amen.
It's
Amen.
a privilege.
Amen.
It's a privilege.
Amen.
Today we are still going to talk about one of the key subjects that is still being misconstrued by many. But I will know per your deliveries. Then I will reform my mind, and I hope society, the church, and everyone else will also come up to speed with what the subject is about. So it's all about purpose.
Mm-hmm.
What have you noticed as lacking when it comes to understanding the concept of purpose as it pertains to us, the term in general, and as it pertains to the individual?
Okay. I think there's one particular thing that I've observed over for some time now, that it has been misplaced. And it has to do with people coming to acknowledge that there is a huge difference, or there is a huge dichotomy between the purpose of God, which is, in another way I can say, the vocation, and profession. People replace profession as vocation or the purpose of God in our time. And instead of them pursuing God's purpose, they are pursuing profession or career. So that is one thing that I see people have not been able to dissect and come to a certain reality that they are two different things. Yes, because the purpose of God over your life has to do with a calling, with a prescribed, with a prescription whereby God guides you and leads you to fulfill a certain assignment. But when it comes to profession, you go through formal education, and you are taught and groomed to become, for example, a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that. You understand? So, and a lot of people replace those things with purpose. That is one thing that I've observed for some time, that people don't know that there are two different things altogether, because purpose or fulfilling God's assignment has nothing to do with, at the end of the day, for example, trying to get salary or money or that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
But it has to do with profession or pursuing a career, at the end of the day, the end result is money.
Money.
The mindset is money and all those things. So that is one thing that I've observed, that people have not given attention to that, and they think that if they are pursuing their profession or career, it's like they are fulfilling purpose, but it's not true.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is really an eye-opener, because when you look at the engineering of society in itself, we've not been so bent on knowing what we truly came here for. And when we come, there's already a model laid down for us to follow. And in this model, this profession you are talking about is really key over achieving a certain goal to which we came here. So, I don't know. Are we, this is really a big eye-opener for me right now as I sit here. Which one should we focus on?
For example, let me even give you this example.
Okay.
The average African rich man or the average African father who has become successful in quotes, at a certain level, would always want his first son, most of the times, to take over his company, his estate, and stuff like that. Which, of course, it contradicts God's plan and God's purpose for the son. But because the father thinks that he's growing old and all these things, there's nobody there to take care. So he intends to force the child to come and take over. Meanwhile, that is not God's plan. And when you relate to Jesus, Jesus' father was a carpenter. But Jesus didn't come to the earth to do carpentry. Jesus came on earth to be a savior. Different purposes altogether. You get my point?
Yes, sir.
So the reason be that your father is a medical doctor does not necessarily mean you should end up being a medical doctor, because the plans of God for every individual is different. The plans of God for every individual is entirely different. So you cannot say that because your dad has a company or maybe your dad is in such a profession, you must also inevitably end up yourself in that profession. So these are some of the, I don't want to use the word confusion, but these are some of the contradictions or irregularities that I've observed when it comes to the purpose of God for, even, like you asked, for the entire nation or even individuals. They try to mix the two.
You see, when you qualify it with this God factor, it seems when we come, we don't hear anything God in navigating our lives. Because what I'm getting here is that there is a higher purpose as opposed to whatever has been laid down that we come to meet.
Yeah.
But or what is even laid down now, as we see, that even from school, no teacher comes to tell us that there is a higher purpose to which we should live, that they even go ahead and ask us, what would you like to become?
Yeah.
It's a matter of preference.
Yeah.
So this deeply entrenched misappropriation starts very early in life, and we run with it. So, say, when did this start? Where did our fathers get it wrong? Because as a young man, this is what they present to me right from school. And you tell us this is the system that will let us become. So, can you really help us as young people that we are not even in a rush to present our preferences over what God desires for us? And who leads us in this kind of organization? That's the person who lead us to understand. In fact, I know it's parents who should lead us to understand these things, but we don't see it. Or some of us, I don't know, maybe some people are fortunate to get fathers to give them some counsel like this, to let them know that there's a higher purpose. But what I explained earlier is the reality on ground right now, that it's a matter of preference when we land here right from school. So I would like to understand, where did we get it wrong? Who did the switch that it's now a matter of preference as opposed to God's design for us?
Okay. Where we got it wrong is when we took the God factor out of it. Because, Job said something in Job chapter 33, verse 4. He says that the Spirit of God has formed him, and the breath of life gives him life. So invariably, Job is trying to let us know that God is our source. And when you compare it to a manufacturer and a product, for example, if you go and buy a machine or a car or whatever, there's a manual that regulates the functions of the machine, right? So if God is our source and the breath that we breathe, He's the one who gives us life, then for us to function accordingly on earth, it must be from Him. So we got it wrong when we took the God factor out. That is where we got it wrong. That's why I said because of that, we have mixed it. Instead of staying focused and pursuing the purpose of God, we have replaced it with profession and career.
Who did that?
Society. Society did it. You understand? Society, modernization, and what do you call it? Self-ambition. The crave to be famous, to be popular, the crave to have affluence. All those things come into play.
Wow, that's why even I mentioned that now it became about preference.
Yes.
Right from school.
Yes. The desire to prove a point. The desire to also let people give their attention, or let people get attention that you are important amongst the people. You understand? All those things come into play.
Oh my God.
So when you combine all these, like I told you before, you realize that the God factor has just been sidelined. So the moment the God factor is sidelined, then you get it wrong.
Wow.
Because He is our source.
Yes.
So if He's our source, and then invariably when I come to natural understanding, I would say a manufacturer and a product. So if He is the manufacturer, He's the best person to give us the regulations that must regulate the functions of the product, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It should be. That is how it's supposed to be. But in our case, society, modernization, and all other factors have shifted that focus elsewhere and is presenting something else.
But why would such a key knowledge escape us like this? Because it's so simple. If really there's a manual.
Yes.
Why don't we just follow the manual?
Yes.
Why is it that the manual was taken from us? Or we don't know, because this is so simple how you present it.
Yes.
If we all get to know that there's a vocation for us here, and there's a manual that even guides us through this vocation or this purpose, why is it that we don't just go to the manual?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Modernization now is gradually pushing the God factor that must regulate our lives to live a perfect life. Modernization and what do you call it? Pollution and all those things have fought that dimension, or it has fought that thing. We must acknowledge that without the God factor, it is impossible for you to live a fulfilled life. Without the God factor, it is impossible to live because He is our source. He is our source. So if you ignore or if you negate His factor, how can you function perfectly? You cannot function. Understand?
I'm just getting something. So in this sense, the worldview of modernization, the worldview of preferences and human ingenuity has presented itself superior as opposed to the original design of our source.
That's it. And that's the problem. So a lot of people are on earth and they are doing entirely the opposite of what God has prescribed for them. The reality itself has been neglected, and they are just doing otherwise. That is one major problem.
Pastor Daniel, so in the fulfillment of our purpose, now that you've brought me to light, what are the key things that you need every individual to know and pursue so that we can achieve and fulfill the original design and mandate for our lives? Because I'll be very happy as a young person that things will be clear to me, that there will be clarity.
Okay.
As opposed to confusion and disorganization, which is the current craze now, that we are chasing the wind. So please, help us in this regard, please.
There are a lot of factors, but I'll mention only one because all of them is embedded on that particular one. Like I said before, God is our source. And even the breath that gives us life is from God. So if I bring it to normal terms, I'll say that God manufactured man. So for you to be able to function accordingly to the prescribed life that God has given to you as an individual, you have to encounter God. You must meet him. Yes, he must reveal himself to you. Yes, he must reveal himself to you. And how can he reveal himself to you? Unless you come to him, unless you decide that you serve him. Unless you decide that you serve him, unless you decide that you get closer to him, there must be that desire to know him. Then he can reveal himself to you. Then he can call your attention. Because when you come to him first and he reveals himself to you, then he can tell you that this is what I want you to become. This is what I want you to do. You understand? Because when you look at somebody like, let's look like at this story, Jeremiah, when he said that before you were a clot of blood in your mother's womb, I've ordained thee to be the prophet for the nations. It tells you that God is the one carrying the template, the life functioning of Jeremiah. And it's an example to every individual. Because all of us were born by women. We were in our mother's womb. So you understand? So I can use Jeremiah's own as an example to tell this story or to share with everyone that God is the one who is carrying the template of our responsibilities that you must come on earth to give a reality to. So until that thing become a testimony for people to see, you must come to him. You must know him so that he reveals himself to you. But people are doing it outside of the knowledge of God. People are trying to pursue, I would even say the purpose of God. Or, well, people are trying to pursue the purpose of God outside his inclusion. And it is not possible. You cannot pursue the purpose of God over your life or the destiny that God has apportioned for you. You cannot pursue it whilst you neglect God's inclusion. It's not possible.
Wow. So this is just groundbreaking, because in today's society, most people will hear this and it will be too much for them. Because, wow. First thing we should know and need to do is to get close to God.
Yeah, you have to encounter him. You have to meet him. Yes, you have to come to him.
That is the path to the fulfillment.
Yes, that is the first. And when that step is taken, then it will lead you to the others. Because when you encounter him, then he will speak to you. Then he will talk to you. Then he will give you directives. And every purpose, there is what I call attention calling. There is what I call location, where he wants you to be planted and fulfill that assignment. There is what I call responsibility, where he has given you grace to function accordingly to that which assignments he has bestowed over your life,
Yeah.
then I have what I call rules of engagement, the do's and don'ts of the assignment, and finally, the outcomes or the results of the purpose of God over your life. It can be positive or negative, dependent on how you lived the rules of engagement. You understand? So you have to go through all those processes. But for all those processes to come to play, you must meet him. You must encounter him first.
Wow.
Yeah.
The reason why I initially asserted that people find it so hard is because I don't want to be theological here, but even theology tells us that we hate God and we don't want to come close to God, and we hate the knowledge or the fact that there's a God who supersedes our actions. And today you can see how society wants to be in control. People want to be in control of everything. So it means there will be a few people who would really do this kind of fulfillment.
Oh, of course. When I've not done scientific research globally concerning it, but I can tell you on a fact that with our little experience of meeting few people on earth, in ministry, traveling, meeting people, I've come to acknowledge, or I've come to know that a lot of people are not living their purpose on earth. A lot of people are living outside God's will for their lives because the God's prescription, there's a price to pay. And many people are not ready to pay price.
Okay.
Yeah. That is why the world at large find it very difficult.
Because I see, even if when you go to God, He will not tell you the one that you wanted to.
Not at all.
Because most of us, even before we get to know this knowledge, even maybe anyone watching us, before he has heard this, he has already chosen something back in school already. Has chosen to be an astronaut.
Yes.
Has chosen to be a policeman.
But
a lawyer.
Yeah.
So now you tell him this and he goes to God. Definitely most of the time we choose it according to our preferences.
Yeah.
So now we go to God and He tells us, no, I ordained thee to be a pastor. I ordained thee to be a seamstress.
Yeah.
And then
for example, when you look at the book of Exodus, when he told Moses that he has put in his spirit on Bezalel and the other guy, so that they will be craftsmen to do upholstery stuff and craft things for the tabernacle. Before then, those people, they were there and they were sheep shearers. They were into livestock. What do you call it? Rearing. And to them, they think that is what they are supposed to be, because that is what they came to meet.
Yeah.
When they were coming from Egypt, that was what they were doing. Majority. That is why even Pharaoh had to push them to Goshen, because per the Egyptian culture, if animal rearing, they cannot cohabitate. You understand?
Yeah.
So these people were into that. That is all the profession they knew. But God told them that no, I'll put my spirit on them because I created them. So this is what they've been designed for, so that they will attend to the works of the tabernacle. The same thing with Peter and his brothers. They were fishermen. Peter's father was a fisherman. So Peter was, I think, a second or a third generation fisherman. So I presume that even his grandfather was a fisherman, because it's in that order. That's why earlier I said that people have companies and all that, and they want to leave it for their sons. So even if God is calling them to do something else, they want to. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So in the nutshell, people naturally want to have their way. People naturally want to have their way. They don't want to align with the prescription that God has put in place. So that is what is causing all these things. That has caused a lot of people to derail. So a lot of people are pursuing profession and stuff like that, but they are not fulfilled because they are not in alignment with God's plan for their lives.
And as people of God, we know that the only thing that will fulfill you is to be in alignment with Him.
Of course. Of course.
So irrespective of the...
Because fine, if you are a manufacturer,
Yeah.
and you have manufactured a blender and you have branded it maybe KY, or CJ or whatever, and you have given a manual, and people ignore the manual, how can the blender function? The blender cannot function. Do you understand?
Yes.
The blender cannot. For example, in the mind of God, God gave man wisdom to create a chair. What does the chair do? The chair only supports us when we sit on. Do you understand? But you can use this chair. It can serve as a table. You can put food on it and eat. You can stand on it and even fix your bulb.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that is what it was originally intended for. That is not its function. So when you are using it for other things else, there's no glory. Yes, because if anything that is not meeting the standard of God does not reveal glory. So if you are not functioning in the prescribed way or the prescribed structure that God has presented for your life, you are not living in glory.
It's very sad.
Yes.
The reason why I say it's sad is because growing up, we are put in institutions. We don't even get to hear these things from our parents, some of us. And in those institutions like school, we get to adopt these, passionate desires, because from there, we see it as dreams. We call it a dream. And now we take up this dream and we sleep matter on it day and night. And then we go after them. And then I stumble on this video and Pastor Dan is telling me that God has a different design for me. And it's not the one I chose in school, the one I prefer. And now when it's so hard, because these things, most people have decided to be something for about 15, 20, 30 years, and they've held up to it. Now you are telling them to go back and get the original design, and they go, and then the design is different. It's very, very hard.
Yeah. Funny enough, if you realize, even in school, when people they ask them now, what do you want to become? And people are mentioning some high in quotes professions, and somebody even mentioned that he wants to be. I don't want to offend anybody. He wants to be somebody or a certain profession. That's we look down upon. Then people begin to even mock at. But meanwhile, in the plans of God, that might be that which God has called the person to become. And through that God is going to bless the person. But we intend to mock those people. And another thing, have you realized that even most especially because I'm a pastor, I want to shift a little bit.
Okay.
Have you realized that many people pursue higher education, PhDs, become medical doctors, pharmacists, lawyers, whatever. And God comes in and called their attention and said, I didn't call you to come and do this. And they put all the certificate aside and all those things. And they accept the call of God and they pursue it. And God makes them great. Because many of them, if it had not been the preaching of the word, they wouldn't have even been noticed. They would be in some village somewhere, medical doctor in some village, or pharmacist be in some corner be elsewhere. Nobody will even notice you.
True.
So it is a proof. Some of these people are proofs to us that unless you fulfill, or unless you are in line, or unless you function as such, that which God has prescribed for your life, there's no fulfillment. And these people, we have a lot of examples in our country that they are professionals, they study, they did whatever, but they are not what they did at school. So it also negates what school is trying to project.
Yes.
It negates what school is trying to let us know that is the best option. Not to say that nobody should we are not saying we shouldn't attend school. That's not what we are saying. But we must come to the place whereby the school that we are attending is not necessarily to become that which the school is trying to groom you to become.
Yes.
But you are going to school to only get a certain level of knowledge because you are on earth. There's certain knowledge you need, but you must be guided that finally you find your place in where God has called you, really your vocation, the calling. That you are ready to give service. You understand? Not necessarily because you are looking for money or salary at the end of the day. Because anything that God calls you to do, there's no salary in it. It's blessing that comes, not salary. Because salary is not blessing. Anything that God calls you, whatever God has called you to do, if you do that which God has called you, it comes with blessings, not salary. But the people's mind have been reoriented when they go through formal education to become some CEO or chief a manager or whatever, to get salary and allowances and all those juicy stuff that comes with it. Unbeknown to them, that they should rather pursue what God has called them to pursue to receive God's blessings.
You are so right. Even that education should rather spur us on to be able to do the bidding of our source and the one who brought us here.
Yes.
Instead of taking another way.
Yes.
Wow.
Because interestingly, do you know that the way modern day people understand blessing is different from how scripture describes blessing? When Jacob and Esau came to their father, they said the father should bless them. The father had money. They have estate. A lot. Isaac was blessed with tangibles. Talk of whatever. But that was not what they were looking for. Do you know why? Because all those things, they carry expiry date. They carry expiry date.
Because in Ghana or in Africa, the person would be glad that Papa is already old. Let's wait till you die and everything becomes out.
Yes.
But these people don't want him to even die.
No.
They want to hear something.
They want the words, because the words are spirit in their life. That is what will carry you to the rest of your life on earth. That is what they want, because those words that you speak over them will bring everything that they need.
This is really countercultural.
Yes.
Because in this culture, you try to bless someone.
No.
Your blessing doesn't carry weight.
Even today, the Uber I picked, and I told him Afishapa. I said, Afishapa, they mean pay the other one no count for baby come. That's what the taxi driver told me. Do you understand?
It's true.
Yes. But unbeknown to them that when you pursue the purpose of God and you fulfill it and you satisfy God, He blesses you. He prospers your life. And I always say that all those tangibles, all those things are rewards. They are material rewards that just come to make life worth living for you on this earth. But when you pursue purpose, you must have eternity in mind. Because purpose of God goes beyond this earth. But the profession and all those things they are pursuing and teaching, going to training and all those things that they are teaching them, it is only on this earth. And the salary comes expiry date. Yes, it was expire. That's why Jacob and Esau, that's why Esau was crying. That, don't you have any blessing for me? Oh, have you spoken all of them? Say something. Speak over me too. I need it.
This is deep.
Yes.
Because there was so much, inheritance.
Yes. The father had a lot. There were flocks, cattle. Talk of what? Isaac was blessed. But that was not what the children were looking for. They were seeking for the spoken word. Because God used words to create the world. So when the Father speak over them, they will become. And even more than what they are seeing. That's why they were desiring the blessings, the spoken word, not material things, not tangibles. But unfortunately, it's the other way around. Now,
that kind of wisdom those guys had is different.
I'm telling you, they're very spiritual. Yes.
This is very different.
They're very spiritual. Yeah, they're very spiritual.
So, Pastor Daniel, in your own, navigation upon the earth, your own experience on earth with people, in your pastoral work and all of that, what have you realized? And even when you look at society at large, what do you think is, or what do you think are the enemies that derail us from fulfilling our purpose on earth?
The number one enemy that is not making people able to fulfill the purpose of God is self. Self. Yes. Self.
Please go deeper.
Yeah. Because, Jesus says something that if you want to be his disciple and follow, you must deny yourself and carry your cross. Either than that, you will not qualify to be his disciple, to be his follower. And that cross is relinquishing your willpower. Do you understand?
Yes,
because
sir.
Naturally, the man that God has created is rebellious because of the Adamic nature. And man doesn't accept change easily like that. So, the man who is on this earth, seeing all these things around man, all the satisfactions, all the passions of life around, tell him that this is what God wants you to do. And it is very spiritual. The acceptance and walking in that dimension, you must be very spiritual. It becomes very difficult for man because man wants to please himself.
Yeah.
Man doesn't want to give his willpower easily like that.
True.
Do you understand? For example, look at this man in Judges chapter 13, a man called Samson. God has given the prescription of your life to your mother by an angelic encounter. And when you were born, they told you that this is what you are supposed to do. This is how you should live your life. And this man went far. God has chosen him as a judge to fight for the people of Israel, defend them from the Philistines. Then you go and pick a woman from there. And your parents are telling you that, but there are a lot of women amongst your brethren, amongst your community. And this man says that, no, I don't want any of them because this one, she pleases me. So he is going in contradiction to the rules of engagement that is attached to the purpose of God concerning his life. Because per the plans of God, he's not supposed to marry from that side. But because of flesh, self, his satisfaction, because of I don't know what that woman does to that man. That is so exceptional that he doesn't want any woman apart from her. That we have told you that this path you are taking, this is not what God prescribed for. It is going to kill you. Akwesi Debi. I don't know what skill. I don't know what kind of massage. I don't know. You can't even tell. Because Bible didn't eat. All that he says, he pleases. That he pleases me. It's the same thing with Lucifer. In Isaiah chapter 14, when he said, I will ascend my throne above the mountains. I will ascend my throne above the Most High. I want to become this. I. He doesn't want to relinquish because the Bible described Lucifer. He was full of musical instruments. He was the embodiment of worship music. That was the original intent of God. But he decided to neglect the will of God, the plan of God, and engage or empower his willpower to precede the willpower of God. And that is the problem of man, will. We don't want to relinquish our willpower. So when God is prescribing something to the person is contradicting, the person is rebelling, the person is trying to shift. No, I did this one, I don't want it. I don't. So that is the problem. That is the problem. Self is the number one enemy to fulfilling God's purpose.
You know, when you were saying it, I didn't want to probe further, but I was just worried because this self is magnified even when we are born. Because you said this is, the nature we inherited right from our Genesis. But when you come here it gets magnified through the systems that have been created on earth.
Passions and all kinds of stuff.
You see, so that's why I was even worried that if our leaders, our parents will know that there's some, design of God for us, why don't they help us to discern these things earlier in life and then attach to them and then run with them? Or even if they can't discern it from that beginning, they should let us know and give that room. Because most of the time we get so attached with all these dreams. I've been a victim. You see, it's by God's grace that some of us have let go of all our, sinful inclinations and desires, that today we have taken upon ourselves God's original design. So what are our fathers and leaders doing about this thing? Do you see any shift going on? Have people even recognized and started doing some, corrections on these things? Because it is still the same system we have.
They've not. That is the unfortunate thing. And interestingly, many of them too are in church. They are in the same faith. And they are not recognizing that the plans of God is entirely different from the plans of man. Like you were asking, the purpose of God, one way also that God reveals his purpose is through parents. That's why I gave the example I gave you. Yes. It has to do, John the Baptist, his purpose was revealed by his father Zacharias, Jesus, the mother, Mary, Samson, the mother, and it goes on and on. Even Jacob and Esau, their mother had an encounter, and the woman knew that this one, Jacob, will be ahead, and he will rule and take charge of things, and Esau will also will be there, and so on and so forth. So, but unfortunately, many parents are unable to help their wards to achieving that. And I'll keep on repeating myself. If you leave the God factor out of anything, especially when it comes to God's purpose for an individual, nothing can be achieved. So if the parent is in the faith but it's not grounded, it will be very difficult. If the parent is the faith and the parent is not committed, it's going to be very difficult. If the parent is in the faith and the parent doesn't have knowledge of the truth, it's going to be very difficult. If the parent is in the faith, but she still thinks like the mixed multitude, it's going to be very difficult.
Respectfully, there are so many self-willed parents, so many self-willed leaders in our generation that they impose their will and their their selfish desires, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Even though they are even in church and stuff, on us.
Yeah. Like I was saying, someone will say, I have this company, you are my first son. And you cannot do anything apart from this thing. You have to stop whatever. I have some friends that their parents, they didn't plan to handle their parents' companies and stuff like that. But I don't lie, they were forced. You could see that this is not God's plan for them. So they are just doing it to please parents. And at the end of the day, that person will leave this earth and go and stand before God. And God will ask him, whilst you were on earth, what did you do with the life I gave you? And you are going to tell God that you handled your father's company, or your mother's company, or your father's properties, your father's estates, or whatever. And is it the will of God? Is it that which God has prescribed for your life? Because even your father that you are handling those things for, if he dies, he will not take any of those things. He will leave it here because you cannot take those things to eternity. So why don't you fulfill purpose and please God? And when in eternity, you'll be rewarded. But you want to please man. So you are just sticking to what your parents or whatever has said you should do, because that is what will make them satisfied, or that is what will please them. It's unfortunate.
Pastor, yes, very, very unfortunate, because when you even look at the design of man, we are beings of attachment. And as little people, in fact, when we are children or young adults, we can't lose that attachment with our parents. So most often we have to let go of our authentic self so that we would be able to retain that attachment system. Because most of us, when we detach, we would not be able to fend for ourselves. And that is a psychological something that even happens per the little research I've done. And, I respect parents a lot, but I feel so worried, because recently I went home, I got a break from work, and when I went home, I met one of the young ladies I know in the neighborhood, and she was telling me how she's so dissatisfied about the course she's offering in school. Why is she offering the course? It's because one of her aunties is in that same line of vocation, and the auntie is a successful auntie. I know them very well. And now she's telling me that she wants to talk to her parents so that they change the course for her. And she knows that her parents are on the side of the auntie, so she wants to call one sister outside the country. And now, if this child doesn't win this case, she will be sorrowfully treading this path.
Yeah.
And this is just one of the cases. I know a lot of them.
Yeah.
Sorrowfully treading this path.
Yes.
And she may not succeed if God doesn't intervene.
And how do you expect God to intervene? Because it is not his will. So this person will go through this profession depressed, and even if it's a health profession, end up killing people. Yes, I know of a family, and their uncle is a nurse, and because of that, all his nephews, he encouraged them to become nurses. So they are like 4, 5 nephews, all of them nurse. And they are always looking at the prestige of it and also the remuneration, but they are not looking at God's factor. Some, even exams was difficult, but they forced themselves to pass the exams until they are doing all those things. But ask yourself that, is it the will of God? You get that salary, you get that remuneration, the apartment, you buy that car, all those things. But at the end of the day, is that what God has really planned for their lives? Right? Because their uncle was a nurse and he's doing well outside, and he has encouraged them to. Even some have even gone outside to join him in the same country. Some too are here pursuing it, and they are doing well. Some, like all of them, they want to be in that. I said, is that the plan of God? Understand? So, like you are saying, this young lady will go through, I don't know, if it's in financial stuff, we should go and handle a financial institution or be posted to a certain place. And because that was not her heartfelt desire, she will be committing errors. And if she is not dismissed, she will be all the time, she'll be receiving queries, all kinds of things.
Yes.
Because she's not fulfilled. That is not her. It's like you have given her an identity that is not her. You understand?
Yes.
She's carrying somebody's identity.
False identity.
False identity. Right. It's problematic.
When you even mention the case of these people even succeeding to climb that height, and then they may end up killing people if the person is in health.
Yes.
And if the person is a lawyer, he will be
Yes.
ruling very,
Yes.
very wickedly.
Losing cases, either losing cases
God.
or taking bad cases when the case is not even good at all. You want to take, because at the end of the day, it's money he's looking for.
Because they have to succumb to the...
Yes, and condoning criminality and all stuff.
So things happening in society, most of them may not be them.
Yeah. Because he must survive. Like I told you earlier, that because of survival, because of daily bread and all these self-ambition, trying to please family and all those things, that is why it derails people to get into all these things. And people have not given it attention.
It's sad because at the end of the day, it's sad. Because when I even look at this, I'm thinking of the fact that this prompting that maybe this young lady may be having, maybe God inspired prompting.
Of course.
To toe that path.
Of course.
Because sometimes when we see some videos, people may be mocking some little children when they
try
teachers
to
do them video. They said, when I grow, I would like to be a farmer. And they laugh at them.
Yes.
Meanwhile, these are people who bring food, work with nature, and they bring food to us.
Yeah.
But they mock this one, and then they trample upon that child's, God-breathed desire.
But there's nowhere on this earth that, especially outside Africa, that farmers are looked down upon. One of the richest people in the world are farmers.
Yes.
When you travel outside, even here, those who are doing large scale, who are doing mechanic, they are wealthy. A lot of wealth. But our society frowns on such things, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And like you talk about desire, the purpose of God starts with that. God places an unnatural desire in you. That's why Jesus said that my satisfaction on this earth is to do the will of He who has sent me. You understand? So it comes with it. So if at the early stages of the child, of the world, you begin to see certain things, you keep on mentioning, it should even prompt you. These are one of the ways to also discover that, no, this child, it seems like his orientation is in this direction. Because the child will be so fond of certain things or be attracted to certain things, and it can speak to you as a parent, you understand? So if, like I was saying, that desire is there, and the child is mentioning those things, keep on mentioning it, and the parents will be beaten. No, you won't do this. You won't become this. You become that.
The saddest of all is when parents fail in some endeavors when they were young, and they feel like,
no child of mine will attempt taking this path again because it didn't work for me.
Yeah, and even the ones that some of them tried and it didn't work for them, so they think like, no, my child must fulfill it for me.
The other way around.
There's no structure in the African terrain, especially in Ghana, by my experience, that people are concerned about putting young people in that structure to fulfill their God-ordained purpose.
There's
no structure.
It's a big challenge.
So most of the time we take our own ways. Most of the thinking is done by ourselves.
It's a big challenge. I know some men of God in this country. He's a man of God, but the son is a pilot. He said he will not force his son to become a pastor if God has not said it. That you come and preach wrong messages and mislead people. I agree with him.
But the people who want legacy.
Yes. Some too didn't want to become pastors. But along the line, he threw all his PhDs and whatever and became a pastor. So have you seen how the thing works? Yes. I remember there was the father was saying that I want you to become an engineer and all the son told him that I know that one day I'll be a preacher, so you let me go to school. So already the young man, that desire has started speaking to him. And the father is okay with that. But let's ask ourselves that how many families will accept even this when your father says that do this and you say, no, I want to do this. Or when God is putting a desire in the heart of the world and he's telling the father that this is what I want to do. Especially this country, when somebody says you want to be an artist, the way they will insult you. I remember in those days, school, they what do they call them?
Visual arts.
Visual arts people. They don't regard them. True. But these people outside, they organize in their galleries, and some of their paintings can cost like $1 million, 500,000, and they are making a lot of money.
But Pastor, let me interject. You said outside. These are one of the factors that parents look at. Because or leaders look at, that they tell you that no, this profession is not in this Ghana. You can't be a basketball player, professional in this country. You can't be a sculptural artist. You can't do sculpture here and succeed. You can't be a cameraman. They give those terms. Yeah, meanwhile, the landscape of camera work and audio visuals and those things, they are really working.
But do you know, the reason is because they don't have knowledge. When you talk about the camera work, they have just brought it down to obi shoot to camera, photo shoot. Do you understand? That is their level of understanding.
Yes.
They don't know that there's something we call videography and all those things involved in a lot of things. There's a lot of education and professionalism in it that can take people far. So instead of even allowing the world to go through and even watch, and pray and support, no. For camera to a better Meanwhile, that is God has called the person. Even before we started this, I was talking to a young man who is in ministry, and by the grace of God, he plays about 5 musical instruments. And I was encouraging him that he should master it, and anytime he takes the instrument and he's playing any of them, he should see himself as God playing the instrument. He should be in the position of God. He should aspire to come to that place that he will play it excellently. You understand? Because I see that is the area God has called him to. God has not called him to be like a front runner preacher. But though he's a man of God, all right, but in the dimension of music. So he should work on himself until he comes to that place that God wants him to become, to be useful to the kingdom.
So when you look at the African terrain, especially Ghana, do you think people are really living in synchrony with their God-given purpose? Are they really in sync? When you look at it largely. I know maybe I may be putting you in a tight corner, but it's sad.
To be honest with you, like I said, we've not done a scientific research, but we are in the family of Christ. So at least we meet people, and for these few years of ministry, we have seen things traveling here and there and stuff like that. And in Ghana, I would say there are a very few. The majority are not in synchrony. Majority have derailed. Majority.
What will happen for them to get back on track? Or are they aware and they've chosen not to be in sync? What is happening?
Some they know very well, but because of daily bread, because of self-ambition, some because they want to impress people, some they want to, because some too they have plans to maybe buy a land or build a house or what all kinds of reasons, which has nothing to do with God. So that's the problem. That's the problem.
What will happen? What will happen? What will happen for these people to? What do you think should happen for them to get back on track? Because at the end of the day, if we are really concerned about these people, we know they are going to end up with very few to no answers when God calls them.
Unfortunately, do you know that the average believer today at times knows that he's doing things that is not too good, but so it makes it even at times very difficult for God, because look at Balaam. You are going to Balak has hired you to go and curse Israel, and even an animal could see the resistance of God and prompting you, but this man was still, his ears were closed because money is involved, because gifts were involved. So that is the order of the day. So because money, gifts, remuneration, comfort, it all comes to that self thing I was telling you. It has made a lot of people, their ears are closed. So, and there are times there's nothing God can do. God will just be watching. So, there are times there's nothing God can do.
But are you saying God doesn't understand? You know, because some of them, they will have genuine cases.
They will give you all, they will take God to court. Go and present their case, give them reasons why
if I don't do this,
allow them, and all. Like I've been telling, self-ambition and I'm the first one. God, you have to understand. I have to, take this decision so that I can help my parents to take care of the younger ones. Blah blah, all kinds of things. So, until people relinquish their will, it's going to be difficult.
Pastor, you are saying God doesn't understand this situation?
No. God doesn't understand, but God doesn't force himself on a man.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people have derailed because they are not living in the perfect will of God. They are in the permissible will, which of course they think that God should understand. So God has laid back and just watching them. So a lot of people are on this earth right now, in this country now. The life they are living, God is not involved. God is never involved, because they are rebelling. They have rebelled, and because of that, God has withdrew himself, and God is just watching them. So a lot of them are heading towards disaster. They are just heading towards the ditch. They are going to fall into the ditch. Yes.
So is it so quick to say that the generation of people we have today have largely been distracted?
Yes. Yes, I like the way you largely. They have been
May God
distracted.
help us.
Yes, largely they've been distracted because it looks as if they are not focusing on the things that are important, that will continue to sustain them to live. They are focusing on the things that they think will please them and carry them to where they will be comfortable. But there's a difference between living comfortable and going to or living into eternity. It's not the same. So people are just looking at now. So they are being distracted. There's a lot of distraction.
And now is not all that there is.
Not at all. Because our God is living. He's eternal. You understand?
Yeah.
So our lives must be in line with his eternal purpose, not the now, plans of man, but the eternal purpose of Elohim. Because he lives, he's living, it continues. Why do you want to end it?
Pastor Daniel, so do we say a person has achieved purpose just because he or she has attained some level of success or affluence in this lifetime?
Not at all. Even interestingly, when God places his purpose over your life, the beginning doesn't look nice at all. But with time, God adds rewards, which comes in those things that you are talking about. I know what you are talking about. Those things that the modern day man wants to see.
You are
understand?
right.
Yes. For example, even our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, he fulfilled the purpose of the Father, but it was death. It was not money, it was not gold, it was not Lazarus, it was not mansion. Apostle Paul, he said they have fought the good fight of faith. You understand? He's waiting for the crown of glory that will be given unto him by the Father.
And the crown was not even here.
No. Do you understand?
Wow.
But on the other side too, God chose somebody like Joseph, and even for Joseph to get to where he got to in Egypt, look at what he went through. Prison, pit, all kinds of false accusation. And even in our generation, a lot of young men will fall for Potiphar's wife and fire the woman. And even cut off the purpose. Solomon asks for wisdom so that he can fulfill God's purpose, so that he can rule God's people. That's all he used. He said, give me wisdom to rule your people. And God added wealth, affluence, riches.
When you look at the Ghanaian terrain, they look at you and they look out dialect, they say, Waki true. Waki true. You've delayed in life.
And the reason is because they are not seeing in the eyes of God. Because what is the delay? If you look at what David said that I waited patiently for the Lord, and he heard my cry and answered my prayers. So even you can be waiting and you are not patient. So what delay are they talking about? So there's a mad rush in society to get some few Ghana cedis and dollar account and all those things and get some second-hand car. And they think that is success, that is the... But no.
Pastor, I didn't know what happened to me. When I went on the break, so many things happened. And one of it was, you see, I told you that it was by God's grace that today I have succumbed to his will.
We'll talk about that one later.
I was running my own race.
Yeah.
I was running my own race.
Yeah.
And a young man sees me because I have a cross on my neck and I was just standing at the junction. He knew me before. He saw me and then he was like, he gave me that kind of blow. And I was standing there looking at him and he just saw me. He was like, Sisi, what a new pastor. Now you're a pastor. In English, he said, now you're a pastor. But he said in the local dialect. I was laughing. I was smiling. And he was laughing more than me. recognizing that I've delayed it.
You look funny.
This path I've taken, it will take long.
Yes. You
see?
look like a comedian to him.
Like, because at first he's this boy is going somewhere, but now where I've taken, I'm really.
And it's unfortunate, it's unfortunate that now these young men are carrying even identities that demean the importance of life over them. How can you call yourself that you are, I don't know if I can use that word on this, how can you call yourself that you are a scammer? It's a negative identity. And many of them are proud to call themselves that they are that. And who told you that it is only crooked way that can bring wealth to you? Crooked ways don't bring wealth. Crooked ways lead to death. Yes, crooked ways lead to death. It does not bring wealth. But that is what they have come to accept. Why? Because they are distracted. Why? Because they don't have knowledge. Why? Because they have not received the truth.
Merci.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So they have mixed the mark. But unfortunately, they rather think they are taking the good decision and you have taken the wrong decision. Because when you're a human being, Bible says don't become wise in your own eyes.
Your own eyes. Because
how far can you see?
So sad.
You must be wise in God, not in your own eyes. Because no human being, I don't know if any human being can see like maybe 5 kilometers ahead. No human being can see.
Wow.
But unfortunately, that is what they have embraced.
Pastor Daniel, so what would you say are the top 3 destructive motivations that will lead people astray in this year, 2026?
The love of money. The love of money. Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. So if you are watching us and there's that kind of trait, or you carry that desire, you love money, and therefore you want to have any means to make money, it's not going to end well. Yeah. And bad company.
That's number 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Bible says that bad company corrupts. Evil company corrupts. If you don't find yourselves amongst the right people at the right time, you might end up in prison or even death.
Okay.
And finally, I'll say that as God has created us and we are his source, you can only become better if you are living for him. If you have the mindset that you can live without him and be better, it's a deception. He's your source. So you cannot live in isolation of him and become better. So don't attempt to have that mindset that you are on your own. You live in isolation of him and you still become better.
Wow.
It's not true.
So predictably, those who live for money, those who live in the midst of wrong companies, and those who will be motivated by their own self and not God are definitely going to be led astray.
Of course.
And if care is not taken, may lose their lives.
Of course. Because at the end of the day, it will end, it can end in death. Yes. There's a likelihood.
Wow. What would be the 5 lessons or key takeaways you want every individual who watched this episode take along with themselves and run the race of 2026 that will better their year and even their lives altogether?
2026 is a very good year, prophetically and in the plans of God for humanity in this season is a very wonderful, fruitful year. And therefore, if those who are watching us, if they will live this year a fulfilled life, or if they will live and be satisfied, they must first have the mindset of committing themselves to please God, or pleasing God. Let me say that. The commitment to pleasing God is very important. The commitment to have a very good prayer life, a very regimented prayer life, is very, very important. Yes. It's very, very important for this year to be a blessing to you. The third thing, the person must have a prophetic word over his or her life that will carry you through the year. Because like I said before, Jacob was asking for blessings, and the blessings were words that the father must speak over him that will carry him through his journey of life. So there must be a prophetic word.
Okay.
And the fourth,
yeah,
this one goes to, especially to the young ones. Every life journey has a process that you have to go through to become. And they shouldn't attempt to jump the life process. If you jump the life process, you cannot become. You understand?
Yes, sir.
And finally, people should give to advancing God's kingdom and also humanity. And let me even add this one. They should also give true love, the Christ-like love, not that love that they think is love. And I believe that if they go by these things, 2026 will be a wonderful year for them.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You've dispensed so much truth in this session, and I believe anyone who has come this far with us may have had a renewed mind, which is our goal, that minds should be renewed.
Exactly.
And we pray that in all, society will be transformed to the glory of God. Thank you very much for coming this far with us, Pastor Daniel. God bless you.
God bless you too, and thanks for having me.
All right. See you in the next one.
Yes, sir.
All right.